Hey guys, this is Ms. Jacobson, and it is time to review commas and conjunctions yet again. We have talked about commas and conjunctions before, but they are not going away. They are an all-year sort of thing, so let's look at them again. Here's some review vocabulary. A comma is a punctuation mark used for many purposes, including combining clauses. An independent clause makes sense by itself. It has a subject and a predicate. A dependent clause does not make sense by itself. A coordinating conjunction, also called a fanboys, combines two independent clauses with the help of a comma. For and nor, but, or yet so. You only see fanboys in compound sentences. A subordinating conjunction is the word at the beginning of a dependent clause that makes it not make sense. So some examples are though, if, even though, since, while, until, unless, as, after, etc. And you will only see those in complex sentences. So a compound sentence has two independent clauses with a comma and a fanboys in the middle. A complex sentence has an independent clause, so a complete sentence, and a dependent clause, so something that doesn't make sense by itself, with a subordinating conjunction. If the subordinating conjunction is first, if is a subordinating conjunction, which is why I highlighted it in pink. If the subordinating conjunction is first, comma, it needs a comma after the dependent clause. Okay, that sounds like a lot of teacher speak, but we've already learned all of this. Hopefully this is all review. Now we're going to talk about it some more today. So your first question is probably just like, why does my ELA teacher care so much about commas? Like, this is the 5th time we've done this. Why does she care about commas? Okay, so you want the honest truth? You are going to have revising and editing questions on your STAR this year. Sometimes the difference between a right STAR answer and a wrong STAR answer is just one comma. Like, it stings, but it's the truth. Sometimes the difference between a right answer and a wrong answer is one single comma. So here's an example of that. So the passage says, Laura and Jenna were making cupcakes for the school bake sale. Laura had signed up to make vanilla cupcakes and blackberry pie. She had a book of old recipes that had been passed down from her mother to her. Some of the recipes didn't make sense. Then the question asks, what's the best way to combine sentences 2 and 3? So we're going to read sentence 2 and sentence 3 again. Laura had signed up to make vanilla cupcakes and blackberry pie. She had a book of old recipes that had been passed down from her great-grandmother to her. We need to combine those to make them one sentence. We can either combine them into a compound sentence or we can combine them into a complex sentence. And so it gives us 2 answer choices to pick from, and we have to decide which is the best answer choice. A says, because Laura had a book of old recipes that had been passed down from her great-grandmother to her, she had signed up to make vanilla cupcakes and blackberry pie. B says, Laura had signed up to make vanilla cupcakes and blackberry pie since she had a book of old recipes that had been passed down from her great-grandmother to her. Pause this video. What do you think is the right answer? Look carefully. One comma can make all the difference. Okay, so our right answer was actually B. The reason B is our right answer is because A is missing a comma it needs. Because is a subordinating conjunction. Because Laura had a book of old recipes that had been passed down from her great-grandmother, that's a dependent clause. If I say, hey, Miss Jacobson, guess what? What? Because Laura had a book of old recipes that had been passed down from her great-grandmother, and then I stop talking, you're missing information. You don't know what happened because she had this book of recipes. Because is a subordinating conjunction. It's the word that makes the clause not make sense. So you need a comma at the end of it. You need a comma after great-grandmother, and there's not one in here. So sometimes a comma is the only difference between a right answer and a wrong answer. You can't just go by how it sounds. But then I hear you thinking, wait, isn't this lesson called commas and conjunctions? So there's something else we have to learn. What's a conjunction? I don't remember. I know she just said that word, but what does the conjunction mean? So STAR gets even more slippery. And again, you're going to see some of these on your test this year. STAR also likes to throw you off by using fanboys and subordinating conjunctions. Fanboys are for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. They're the ones that go in the compound sentences. Subordinating conjunctions are the ones that make the dependent clause not make sense. Sometimes the only difference between a right and a wrong answer is the type of conjunction that is used or the meaning of the conjunction. And yes, I can hear you going, really? Really, they're going to do that to us? Yes. Yes, they are. So here's another example. Spiders are feared by many people, comma, spiders can be helpful household guests. That sentence is incorrect, it's not written correctly. So it says, what is the best way to write sentence 11? A says spiders are feared by many people, although they can be helpful household guests. B says spiders are feared by many people, yet they can be helpful household guests. C says spiders are feared by many people and they can be helpful household guests. D says spiders are feared by many people because they can be helpful household guests. Pause this video if you need time to figure it out. So the correct answer is actually B. It has a comma and a fanboys, so it makes a correct compound sentence. Although has the right meaning in answer choice A, but because it's a subordinating conjunction, it doesn't need a comma. And in C doesn't make as much sense as yet. They are feared by people, they can be household guests. I'm comparing those two things, so I need a yet. And D doesn't make sense. Spiders are feared because they can be helpful, but that doesn't even make sense. So let's do a little bit of review. So a compound sentence is a sentence with multiple independent clauses and no dependent clauses, and they're held together by fanboys. They watched a movie and she read a book. They is my subject, watched a movie is my predicate. That's an independent clause, it makes sense by itself. You have a comma fanboys. She is my subject, read a book is my predicate. That makes sense by itself, so that is an independent clause. A complex sentence has a subordinating conjunction, which turns one of its clauses into a dependent clause. While I like most types of cookies, if I say, hey, Miss Henson, guess what? And Miss Henson goes, what? While I like most types of cookies, and I stop talking, that doesn't make sense on its own. The while makes it not make sense. While I like most types of cookies is a dependent clause. And then sugar cookies are my favorite is an independent clause. Sugar cookies is my subject. Are my favorite is my predicate. Because while is the first word of a sentence, I need a comma after cookies. But if while was not the first word, then I wouldn't need a comma. So again, how to remember the two sentence types. Compound has two complete thoughts, independent clauses. Fanboys has to go in the middle, and it must have a comma in front of the fanboys. With the complex sentence, it has one complete thought, which is an independent clause, and one incomplete thought, one dependent clause that's missing information. The subordinating conjunction can be at the beginning, or it can be in the middle, but we only need a comma if it starts with the subordinating conjunction. So here's what you need to do. Go to OneNote and find the sentence structure question practice. We're going to do these first two questions together, and I'm going to show you what you have to do to show work and get credit. And then the steps will be in here, and the last questions are going to be on your own. Go ahead, please open this now, because I'm going to walk you through question 1 and question 2 in this video. Let's practice. Question 1 says, Liliana despised jalapenos. She was horrified by her neighbor's gift of jalapeno jelly. She tried to hide her feelings in order to be polite. So what's the best way to write sentence 1? Sentence 1 is written incorrectly. It's a run-on sentence. We have to decide how to fix it. But in order to do that, we have to go through question by question. So step by step. Let's look at A. Is this answer choice a compound sentence or a complex sentence? Well, it uses a fanboys, so that makes it compound. We're going to label it compound. Next to your answer choice on your document, label it compound. Does the sentence have need a comma? And if so, where would it go? Does it have one already? Liliana despised jalapenos, so she was horrified by her neighbor's gift of jalapeno jelly. It needs a comma in front of the fanboys because it's a compound sentence, but it does not have one. So mark out answer choice A. It's wrong. Okay, step by step. Let's look at answer choice B. Since Liliana despised jalapenos since she was horrified by her neighbor's gift of jalapeno jelly. Is this compound or complex? Well, it uses since. Since is a subordinating conjunction, so it is complex. Write complex next to your answer choice. Does this sentence need a comma? Well, our subordinating conjunction is in the middle, so we shouldn't need a comma, but it does have one. And then, does the fanboys or the subordinating conjunction even make sense? She despised jalapenos since she was horrified by the gift? That doesn't make sense. So mark out answer choice B. Step by step. Answer choice C. Liliana despised jalapenos, but she was horrified by her neighbor's gift of jalapeno jelly. Okay, so you got to answer all these steps. Step 1. Is this answer choice compound sentence or a complex sentence? It's compound, so mark it as compound. Highlight that fanboys. Does this sentence need a comma? Yes, it does, because it's compound, so you need a comma in front of the fanboys. Do we have a comma in front of the fanboys? Yes, we do. But does the fanboys that they used make sense? She despised jalapenos, but she was horrified by her neighbor's gift of jalapeno jelly. That would mean that those two things were opposites, and that doesn't make sense. So no, that does not make sense. Okay, so finally we're going to look at answer choice D, step by step. Step 1, is this answer choice a compound sentence or a complex sentence? Highlight the conjunction or the fanboys. Okay, well, since this is a subordinating conjunction, we're going to highlight that. And it is complex. So we're going to write complex next to that answer choice. Does the sentence need a comma? Where does it need a comma, and does it have one? Yes, it needs a comma at the end of the dependent clause, because the subordinating conjunction is the first word of the sentence. So since Liliana despised jalapenos, comma, that makes sense. So our comma is where we need it. Does the fanboys or the subordinating conjunction make sense? Since she despised jalapenos, she was horrified by the jalapeno jelly. Yeah, that makes sense. We have to do this on other types of questions too. So this is a different type of question. It says, I didn't sit with Melissa at lunch until we were having an argument about TikTok. What's the best change to make to the sentence? Well, we're going to cross out A and D because it says change Melissa to Melissa lowercase. That doesn't make sense because that's a name. Change TikTok to TikTok lowercase. That also doesn't make sense because it's a name. Specific names have to be capitalized. That leaves us with answer choices B and answer choice C. So we look at this sentence. Is this compound or complex? Until makes it complex. Does this need a comma? Well, the subordinating conjunction is in the middle, so we don't need a comma. B doesn't make sense. Don't add a comma before until. We only use a comma if until's the first word. Change, and then we need to see, does the fanboys or subordinating conjunction make sense? Okay, until we were having an argument about TikTok doesn't make sense. But answer choice C says change until to because. That does make sense. So our correct answer choice is going to be C. You're going to go ahead and finish this practice on your own. You must do all 3 steps to each problem or each answer choice.